10 years ago, this graphics card would have cost you thousands of dollars. Now it's only 20 bucks. But it has no display port and no fan. So how can we use it? Well, let's see if we can make it work. So I bought this on eBay last year for I think $30. And at the time I had a GTX 1060. I was just getting into Nvidia stuff. I'm not sure if I had a 980 Ti yet at that point, but I bought the 980 Ti in the same, that was in my eBay phase. So it was in 1 month that I was buying a bunch of stuff on eBay. So what this is a Tesla K40. It's some sort of server data GPU thing. And this was supposedly similar to a 980 Ti or Titan X. And at the time, the Titan X, I was all obsessed with getting a Titan X, but they were like 200 bucks still back then. So then I got the 980 Ti, and I was happy with that. And then I watched all the videos where people put fans on here. And then after I watched all the videos, I'm like, this card kind of sucks because the frame rates were terrible. It's hot. This pulls like 230 watts of power. It doesn't support certain things. It is a Titan X-ish GPU, but it's a little bit watered down. I think it's better than a 980 Ti though. It has 12 gigs of memory. It might be closer to 1080 Ti, maybe. I don't know. I forgot the specs. Anyway, it's powerful. That's it. So I kind of gave up on it. It's too much of a hassle for nothing. But I wasn't really making many videos back then. And now I pulled it out when I started the GPU challenge. And then I was looking at it and I was like thinking, we have to make this work somehow. So then I went back and watched more videos about this, and there's new ones that I hadn't seen yet. So one guy, he just put a water cooler on it. Oh, I have one of those. It's right here. Also, when I was first looking at this, I didn't have supplies, so I couldn't really experiment. Now I have a whole ton of, tons of things, so there's lots to play with. So this is a water cooler bracket for a 10 series card, which I forgot. That's what this is, basically. I mean, as far as dimensions go. So, yeah, easy. But I'm not going to do that. That's a little too much. What I do have, though, so I pulled out my old box of cards and stuff. So basically I had 3 980 Ti's at one point. I bought a 980 Ti hybrid on eBay, which is the water-cooled one. And that's this. And I was using that for a little while, but it was really noisy because one of the blades on the pump was missing. So I took it off and I converted it back to air. And there's a video about that too. And then I sold that GPU. But I always kept the the shroud. I totally forgot about that. And so I can put that on another card. I forgot I even had that actually, because I bought the 1070 Founders Edition and I didn't have a shroud for it. So I put a twin fan setup on it, and I probably could have used that. And then I have these two boards. This is the one that got wet, it doesn't work. And then this is the one that has the blown capacitor or something. I keep these around just for reference as far as measurements and stuff. But let's take a look here. I kind of peeked at this last night, and I think we have something here. First of all, that's the most badass heatsink I've ever seen. It's super heavy. So we're not even going to talk about the fact that it has no display port. That's not the issue here. There's ways to fix that, but we're just talking about cooling. So what one guy did is he put two little fans here, and then he covered this, and so the air comes out like that. Works perfectly. That's kind of a lot of work cutting. I don't really want to do that. And then there's another guy, he actually makes a 3D printed adapter that goes here, and you can put a blower, a standard blower CPU cooler from a laptop or small form factor, I'm not sure what, and then it just blows air in like that. But then you have to buy more stuff. You have to buy the blower. And we're back. Of course, the phone rings when you're trying to record something. So what was I saying? Yeah, so there's adapters, and of course every time you record a motorcycle drives by. Fun times. Okay, so there's those adapters. I don't really want to spend any money. I think these parts will fit, so let me show you here. And if you're wondering why these don't have fans, it's because the servers or workstations that they go into have fans in the front, and the air just goes through. Also, with having no fans here, you can stack these side by side, so you could have, you know, 4 or 8 of these right next to each other, and the air is just going through there. So that's why that is. Okay, so let's take this off. This might work out for several reasons, and I'll explain that at the end, because there's 2 things I'm trying to do. And if I can use all the parts that I have on hand, that'll be perfect. Because this stuff was not free, so I don't want to spend any more money for things that just run poorly. It's just for fun, education. That way, next time somebody wants to buy one of these, they can just find this video if they don't get bored watching it for half an hour. Also, I went on eBay to look for these. They're 20 bucks now. And I didn't know this. I didn't see it at the time. They actually have a model with a fan. So it still doesn't have the display, I don't think, but it has a blower fan on it. And I saw one of those for 30 bucks. So in reality, I should just buy that, but it's no fun if you can't do it yourself, right? So here's the blower. Can't believe I forgot I had this just been sitting there. So this is interesting, first of all. Watch. There's that, and all the 910 cards have the same big pattern. I'm sorry, not all, the higher end ones. So like a 970, 980 1070, 1080 have the bigger one. 1060s, some of them have a smaller pattern. And I'm not sure about the 950s and 960s. So my first thought was I was just gonna take all this off and put this heatsink on here, and then just put some random fan on top of it and call it a day. But then check this out. I think this fits. Yeah, it just like directly fits in there. But there's no blower fan. So I think maybe I don't have to take this off. I can just mount this. Let's try it. I mean, it fits, but I don't know if it's really contacting exactly. So I have to test that thermally. So I hadn't actually tested the card this whole time. I did plug it in to my test setup, which I still have not made a video about because the cables are all disgusting in there. And it's using Molex fans, and I gotta clean all that up and make it nice, and then we'll make a video about that. So it seems to fit. Huh. So worst case scenario, you could just do this. So get a 10 series or 9 series blowers, any heatsink with that pattern, and just mount it here, stick a fan here, boom, you're done. But so that's the default option, as long as there's proper contact. And then let's look at a couple other options here. Okay, so that's part one. Part two is, could we mount this whole entire blower setup on here? So the holes would have to line up. So you have no fan power, so there's really no point in using a blower on it. I mean, you could unscrew this right here and then maybe just glue it right there, and that would blow air on this guy, right? So we put this here, and you just glue the blower there. But then this doesn't fit fully on here. I mean, it could be kind of a cover. That'd be really wonky. So I think because there's no fan power anyway, maybe we'll just put a fan here so we can just use a standard fan and connect it to a motherboard. And that would let you be able to monitor the RPMs and everything. I forgot all about the fan power. So the blower option is really not, I mean, I guess you could, but nobody's really gonna go through all that trouble and then not have a way to power the fan. Right? People don't even like blower fans anyway, so can you imagine how loud that would be with no fan control? I mean, so if you're using a motherboard fan, like say an 80 millimeter fan on that heatsink, you could control the fan curve too. You wouldn't be able to thermally control it, but you could manually set the speed and the BIOS depending on which one you have. So my other theory was, here's the 1070 that I converted from what was it? Totally forgot. So my other theory was, could I put this twin fan on here? If I take off this plastic thing, and I think it would fit. The pattern's the same, but would it hit these guys? Yep. See, can't do that either because the fin stacks will hit there. So there's your answer. Can't convert it to. What an idiot. There's no fan connector. And I don't know if they make a reverse adapter to convert the GPU fan to a standard header. So we're just gonna, since this bolt's on anyway, we'll just do the regular fan. So what I did last night, I did plug this in, I did test it, it did power up. There was no fan on it. I just had this one, and then I had a little portable battery powered fan that I use to cool off stuff that doesn't have fan, and I just pointed it at here, and it didn't get hot. It was like 50 degrees, but the drivers would not load. It said that it pulled up in device manager, and it said there's not enough resources available, and it won't start the card. And that's why it was running so cool, because it wasn't actually doing anything, but it did recognize the card. I have to research that. I looked it up a little bit. Other people have had the same problem with various cards, not just this one. I'm gonna have to try it in a different system. That one has Windows 11 on it, and that's probably not gonna work well for this particular scenario. Also, I put this one in the top slot, and then I put the actual other GPU in the second slot. I don't know if it didn't like that, but there's another theory. I don't know if you can have two in this type of setup. I don't know if you can have two actual GPUs running, because all of the people that made these work, they had a onboard dedicated video just to boot into Windows, and then they would run the games off of this, sort of like a laptop. So I don't know if having two actual GPUs in at the same time is confusing and everything, and that's why it says there's not enough resources. So first thing I'm going to do is, since I don't have to modify anything, all I got to do is boot, just put this on, point a fan here, and I'm done. Is I'm going to try it on another board that has integrated graphics with Windows 11, see if that works. If it doesn't work, then I'll boot into another drive that has Windows 10, and that should work. And then we'll have a different video about how to make it actually play games. But the point of making this work is not to play games, it's actually for me. I'm building a Dell Precision workstation, which will have a Quadro GPU in it, but it has multiple express lanes. And I just out of curiosity, I won't keep it this way. I want to put in this to do the actual computing, because people say that people use this for data learning and rendering and whatnot. I don't know what that is. I want to see what it actually does. So in that use case, it doesn't need to display out, because it's only going to compute. It's not going to play games. That workstation won't have games on it. It's going to be specifically for work type things. And also I'm partnering with a guy who has a 3D printer, and he's gonna let me actually create the 3D prints of computer parts that I want built, and then he'll print them, and then we'll share in the money. So I have a few ideas for some things that I want to 3D print for you guys to use that nobody offers right now, but we'll keep that under wraps for the moment. And then the last and final weird, wacky idea that I have is